What you see here is one of the deadliest families in the world. This is Nini Johanna Yusuga David, or La Negra, and this smiling face is her brother, a man described by the Colombian president as only comparable to Pablo Escobar. Over 120 warrants for his arrest, countless atrocities associated with his name, and a $5 million bounty placed by the United States. Damn. It took more than 500 Special Forces operatives and 22 helicopters just to capture him. And following his capture, at least 25 police officers were killed when his cartel demanded his freedom. Once Daniel Rendon Herrera, the leader of Colombia's largest cartel, Clan del Golfo, was found hiding in the jungle and arrested, this brutal family took full control of the cartel. And I say cartel because it's a huge alliance involved in drug trafficking. But
you wanna know what's crazy? When they say like cartel, bro, I was thinking cartel was like one thing. But it's basically like gangs.
They are better described as an army. Now, it's important to understand why a family would be at the head of a paramilitary group that fights the government and other paramilitary groups while simultaneously being the largest drug cartel. This sounds lawless, and that's due to the Colombian conflict. You see, unlike in Mexico, which is home to the cartel activity most people are familiar with, Colombia has been engaged in a three-way civil war for over 60 years at this point. It's not a war on drugs, but to oversimplify, ever since a very popular man was assassinated, armed groups have been fighting for control of the country and tearing it apart. This is bigger than the Mexican drug war, as some of these groups actively want to overthrow the Colombian government, although many would argue that the Colombian government acts in coalition with some of these groups. And this conflict is so ingrained within the country that there are even influencers fighting in communist revolutionary militias. Yes, a good example of what I just described is this girl that makes TikToks and also fights cartels while trying to overthrow the government. This is the type of situation we're dealing with in Colombia. So it's important not to look at these stories as just some gangs clashing over territory or drug sales.
See, bro, like the fact though, like a gang, bro, a straight gang is trying to fight over territory. Like, bro, that's a gang, bro. Like me, when I think about a gang, I think about a group of people that probably own a block, you know, like owns a block. But these people straight beefing with the police. I got their own type of army, bro.
If you're not from South or Central America, it's probably way deeper than you could imagine. Now, in my Mexico video, I brought up this clip of a police force working alongside a cartel, but I mistakenly referred to these two groups as the Mexican police and the Gulf Cartel, when in fact, this is Clan del Golfo working with the Colombian police, possibly in Cartagena. And similar to what I said in my Mexico video, I don't want to just call this corruption, at least not in the sense that we see in the US, as a police department refusing to work with a paramilitary group that generates billions of dollars with a standing army of anywhere from 1,200 to 3,000 soldiers probably would just be a survival tactic, as I'm sure the local Colombian government is not paying any of these officers enough to put their families' lives at risk, as it's not just their own safety that comes into question. Now, Dario Antonio Yusuga David, his sister Nini, and brother Giovanni grew up in Necoclí, a small city in the Colombian state of Antioquia, an area long known as one of the most violent regions in the world due to the militarized presence of these groups here and the various conflicts. Conflicts that were going on long before Dario and his siblings were born. Like many young men, he and his brother joined one of these groups known as the Popular Liberation Army. It was founded by the Communist Party of Colombia in 1967, but they split off from the main party due to disagreements in the ideology of the Soviet Union, which at the time was ruled by the most powerful communist party in the world, and they were focused on inciting revolution in Colombia. But after decades with no success, they eventually agreed to demobilize during peace talks with Cesar Gaviria, who was the president of Colombia at the time. And this happened in 1991, just 2 years after the brothers joined. And it also coincided with the fall of communism globally. Now, according to his mother, Dario wasn't a revolutionary. He simply joined the Liberation Army because it's all there was in the town he grew up in. And only being 18 when he joined, he likely just wanted a sense of purpose in the tumultuous world he grew up in of 90s Colombia. But it was after this demobilization that he and his brother actually got into drug trafficking via a group called the United Self-Defenses of Colombia. But seeing that this could become something bigger, in 2005, he became acquainted with Daniel Herrera. Herrera was already leading his own group, which is Clan del Golfo, the largest cartel in Colombia. Unfortunately for Herrera, his time at the top
it seemed like cartels, bro, be everywhere. Like, I was thinking cartels was only like in Mexico. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know they was international with it.
last 4 more years after meeting Dario, as in 2009 he would finally be captured by the National Police, who would make him sit in prison until 2018 when he was extradited to the United States and sentenced to 35 years by a federal court in Brooklyn. But leading up to his arrest, Dario's brother Giovanni, real name Juan de Dios Yusuga, had taken command of 250 men loyal to him within the Gulf clan, and he began recruiting as well as expanding operations until he was the undisputed leader. Now, Clan del Golfo was already powerful before the family stepped in, as the former leader was already one of the richest and most wanted traffickers in the country before his downfall. But there is no doubt that the Yusuga family took the group to new heights, as immediately Giovanni declared war on Los Rostros, a cartel with significant influence in Medellin, for control of the trade within the city. They even printed pamphlets to be distributed around Medellin to inform the public that their goal was to destroy this rival group, ironically claiming that they had not provided security and protection to the community and that they were guilty of being unjust to the civilians. And this is a war that Clan del Golfo apparently won. But just 4 months after the war was declared, Giovanni was killed in a police raid, which left a furious Dario, now known as Otoniel, as the leader of the clan. And it's unclear how he got that name or what it means to him, but in Hebrew it roughly translates to God's lion. And this is when the rest of the family comes in. Otoniel's wife, Blanca Madrid, also known as La Flaca, was the banker of the group, as she was in charge of money laundering or cleaning up the money the Gulf clan earned from trafficking. And they were making so much money that it might have started to get to Otoniel's head, as he reportedly paid for his wife and her 3 sisters, Maria, Sandra, and Marta, to have some plastic surgeries, appearing to mold the 4 of them to his liking, as they would all start to resemble each other more after the procedures. And according to the undercover agents who would watch the sisters' movement in an attempt to locate the man at the top,
I mean, they was getting them BBLs and tummy tucks, and they was getting right.
Apparently had them all look alike, because he would have affairs with the sisters when his wife grew tired of sneaking into the jungle to see him once he became a wanted man, as she preferred the comfort he provided in the city where she lived like a queen. Just 1 year after the death of his brother, Otoniel was one of, if not the most powerful cartel boss in Colombia. And during the 50th anniversary party he threw for his parents, undercover agents discovered that he may have also been building churches in the communities he controlled, probably as a way in his mind to repent for his sins. And his sister wives, I guess you could call them, convinced him that he should start paying tithes to local pastors, who may have even been helping him launder, which he did in the form of 50 to 120 million pesos a month, roughly equaling to 12 to 29,000 US dollars a month. And he was allegedly paying this amount to the 2 pastors while asking in return that they pray he doesn't get captured. Unfortunately for him, nothing in the Bible states that this is how things work at all. And if I'm not mistaken, this is the whole reason the Protestants split from the Catholic Church centuries ago, because they believe that paying money is not how you get in God's favor, like some prosperity preachers would try to teach you. This is not a message in Christianity, and his own arrogance would prevent him from noticing that it would in fact be his lust for these 4 women that led to his downfall, as their visits to him were key in undercover agents discovering his hiding spot. But before this, a minor setback occurred that looked like the beginning of the end. On December 12, 2013, Nini, Otoniel's sister, was arrested in her apartment during a police raid in the Los Colores neighborhood of Medellin, along with 3 other men. But on December 26, 2013, the prison they were being held at, INPEC, received a document signed by the secretary of a municipal court in Cordoba, revoking their detainment. The prison even called a judge in Cordoba that confirmed the document would grant them freedom. And sometime later, Nini's lawyer would arrive at the prison to speak to her, only to find out that his client had been set free. But it turns out, this would be the beginning of the end for some of the family, while the 2 main siblings escaped justice. In early 2015, about 2 years after Nini's escape, an operation by the Colombian police in Uraba would lead to the capture of La Flaca, the wife. And around the same time, Nini's husband was kidnapped by Mexican drug traffickers while he was trying to negotiate a shipment. And the capture of La Flaca was part of an operation by...
Man, you can hide all you want, bro. I'm just saying, if the police is gonna catch you on this, you know what make me like crash out about a YN, bro? If people like this is getting captured, bro, and you thinking you straight, bro, your ass is cooked. I'm just trying to keep it a bean with you, bro, because, bro, you thinking you smooth and you a finesser, bro. You ain't even going this far in the detail like these cartels be going in, bro. You doing the basic little petty scams and all of this and all of that. You might be thinking, oh yeah, I sell a couple keys, man, I'm cool. Whole time, bro, they on your ass. If they find people like this, bro, they can most definitely get your But look, man, I don't preach no bad stuff. You feel me? I want everybody to step by the streets for real.
Colombian authorities to take down Otoniel's inner circle with about 300 commandos and 10 helicopters, which led to a clash that killed 2 of his bodyguards. And the siblings had other family members involved, like multiple cousins that were captured and a brother that wasn't mentioned by authorities until he was caught, likely trying to make him think he was under the radar. But 3 years after La Flaca was captured, 2 more of their brothers were arrested, with one of them apparently running the show while Otoniel was in hiding, as according to U.S. authorities, he controlled 80% of drug exports to the United States at the time. And with several assets being seized by the government like cash and houses, it was only a matter of time before the 2 remaining siblings were caught. And in March 2021, Nini was finally recaptured and extradited to the United States, where she was charged by a Florida court of drug trafficking and money laundering. But as of 2025, it's believed that she's already served her sentence and is now free. And finally, in October 2021, Dario Yusuga, also known as Otoniel, was captured, with more charges being added to him once it was discovered that he had been having relations with underage girls while hiding in the jungle. And after over a decade of terror and excess, the Yusuga clan was finally dismantled, as Otoniel was sentenced to 45 years in federal court and is currently at ADX Florence. But of course his cousin still ran Clan del Golfo for another 2 years until his capture. And this is the whole problem with just cutting the head off the snake. It doesn't always work. The Yusuga clan took over, and with them now out of the way, a power vacuum is open for another family to climb the ranks. While justice was served to the family for their crimes, the same problems persist in Colombia. And with so many armed groups, I just can't see a way for it all to end. And now, Dario will likely sit in federal prison for the rest of his life. But in Colombia, life goes on and it's business as usual. And this is why government and even CIA collusion often come up when discussing Latin American countries. The United States is home to so many gangs and armed groups, but none of them have ever become anywhere near as powerful as some of the cartels south of Texas. And why is that? Was the ATF allowing 2,000 weapons across the border supposed to fuel this conflict, or was it really an accident? We all know that the US acts in its own interest even if it goes against the stability of another nation. Just look at all the armed groups we trained and let free in the Middle East. It looks a lot like what happens in Colombia and Mexico today. And not to mention in Venezuela, the president's—
I don't know, bro. Like, I feel like the US don't have to stab me in the back, bro. But I feel like the US, bro, we too strict on a lot of stuff. You feel me? Like, some stuff is lenient, but when it comes to stuff like this, or like, nah, bro, we got them 3-letter organizations, bro. They ain't gonna let us turn up like this. And that's cool. That's cool, bro. Like, keep it like that. You feel me? Like, listen, bro, I don't want no big gangs or nothing like that, bro. Just keep it cool, keep it safe, man. Shit, bro, call me a pussy, bro, but I'm keeping it real, bro. Like, you think I'm finna deal with something like that? You think I want to live in a warfare? No. We already got a bill is enough, mother. Like, enough is enough, bro.
own family is involved in the drug trade. All of this government corruption and American intervention creates the migrant crisis.
No, but like, America is corrupted, right, to a certain extent, for sure, and stuff that we don't know. But look at all these other countries too. If we fighting on a global scale, bro, I honestly don't think that we that bad. We not that bad.
How can the average man and woman succeed in Colombia when so much is working against them? Unfortunately, I don't have an answer, and even if I did, it wouldn't solve the problem. Libertad y orden are the national words of Colombia, and it means freedom and order. Something that maybe one day, in the future, the Colombian people will actually have. But thanks for watching as always.
Man, y'all let me know how y'all feel about that vid, bro. It'd be crazy how these gangs can run like nations. That's wild. Damn. Who is the most powerfulest family in the world now? Which I think that it's like, what niche would they be in? Gangs, banking, drugs, like, yeah. What's up, bro? Y'all let me know down below in the comments, and I'm out. I know it gotta be like some trillionaires walking around here, bro. It just gotta be.